Heroes of the Storm is hands down my favorite MOBA. It's an absolute travesty that it's stuck in maintenance mode hell. The game's cast oozes creativity, and I can only begin to imagine what the dev team would have cooked up had they been allowed the opportunity. Wallowing in thoughts of what could have been, I posed the question to my friends. What character do you wish would have made it in? Of course, rather than having a 3 AM sleep-deprived introspection like a normal friend group, we made PowerPoint presentations. But it wasn't enough to just make presentations, we also judged and scored each other much like you would in a Jackbox game.
Zeros across the board. Zeros across the board.
Alright, so here's what we were required to include in our presentations once we decided on our Blizzard character of choice. 3 basic abilities, 2 ultimate abilities, 1 trait, which could either be a passive or an active, as well as 3 talents, which could be presented however we wished. A couple things to note for those of y'all that don't play HotS. Instead of earning gold to buy items to strengthen your character like in most MOBAs, in HotS, you choose a talent every few levels that augments your abilities. And at level 10, you choose which ultimate you want for the match. Additionally, there was a soft requirement for, quote, any other basic information. Things like the hero's role, which resource they use to cast abilities, and whether they mount up normally or have a special mount replacement. Judgment would come from our peers via the following parameters: how fun our hero sounded to play, how unique our hero seemed amongst the already existing heroes in HotS, and the ambiguous combo category of flavor/representation. In hindsight, I realized that it can be difficult to judge the quality of representation for a character you don't know, so however you want to interpret that category is fine. If we ever did this again, this judging parameter would definitely need a rework. In addition to judging each other, we also had an audience member that wasn't that familiar with HotS, so their parameters were simplified to just being about how fun the character looked, and the overall quality of the presentation. And now, finally, after all that yapping, let's spin the wheel and find out who has to present first. Rylan gets to go first.
Oh, thank God, thank God.
I don't mind presenting, but I've always been like, I'll do anything but first.
Really? Dude, I was always like, I want to go first because I want to be the one getting it out of the way.
I stand ready.
Hey guys, I made my character. So my character I chose is Celendis. This is a StarCraft character, obviously. Fun fact, this is actually kind of cool. I didn't know this when I was looking up Celendis and like getting more lore. She was supposed to be the next hero after Hogger. Like they actually have her planned. But then, you know, heroes died. No more Celendis.
That's actually sick.
Yeah, so here I am. Celendis is a ranged assassin. She's one of the things when it came to like the StarCraft characters in Heroes was like they always mimicked like a unit in the game. So like Raynor was a typical Marine. Artanis plays very similar to like a Zealot, which is just like a fast melee infantry kind of unit. Sergeant Hammer is quite literally a tank. So I kind of wanted to keep that tradition of like having these heroes play as like a unit from the game. And Celendis is actually a playable character in StarCraft in the campaign. But her unit is not what she is in the lore. In the lore, she's kind of more of like what's called an adept unit, which is it has like this ability where like it can shoot out a projection, and then it at the end of the cooldown it teleports to that projection. I ultimately decided not to use that unit because I felt like there's quite a few of those like heroes that like can teleport or like have a projection and then they go back to the projection of the teleport or something like that. I just didn't want to deal with that. So instead, I used the other unit that she is represented to in the campaign. That's also hasn't been done in Heroes. So she is represented as the carrier. The carrier is a unit, a flying unit in the Protoss army, who shoots out these things called interceptors. They're fighters. They're kind of the main building blocks of Celendis. She can use these to attack and deal damage. She can send these interceptors to basic attack, but for rule purposes that you're going to see in there, it's called an attack order. So in StarCraft, interceptors slowly shoot out of a carrier, kind of like how fighters shoot out of a carrier in like a Navy vessel. They don't all come out at once. So the damage ramps up over time as each interceptor gets shot out. She can fly over terrain. I cannot be CC'd, meaning she can't be rooted. That's the only thing. I forgot to fix that. She can't be rooted because she just flies over everything. But she can be stunned. She can be slowed. All sorts of stuff like that. She's also extremely slow. When her mount, actually, I think I have a slide for her mount. I'm not sure. If I don't, then I'll tell you what it is later. But that's the basic idea. She is a ranged assassin who's slow, shoots out these interceptors, and it builds over time. All right, let's talk about her passive. Interceptors. Every 10 seconds, a new interceptor is created. Each interceptor hovers around Selendis and attacks any target given the attack order. Selendis can have a max of 8 interceptors. Interceptors can be targeted by basic attacks and abilities, and interceptors have a high attack speed, medium damage, and low health. So very similar to the unit in in StarCraft, these interceptors can be destroyed. They have a high attack speed, and they do some decent damage, but they can be destroyed. They have low health, and when they die, the carrier has to rebuild them. So, I kind of, again, I wanted to do that for this one. Her interceptors also have a little bit more of a use with her Q, My Life for Ire. Sacrifice one interceptor, deal small damage in an AoE radius. I just wanted to create like a basic damage ability so that you're clicking a button when you're doing something. You're not just sitting there hitting A and then watching your interceptors go phew, 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 phew. You can click a button and actually interact and do shit. Her W, Intaro Selendis, increase the attack speed of all interceptors by a small amount for a small duration of time. So this is just, trying to think of like Raynor's W, I guess, where like you can increase the movement speed and attack speed of Raynor's basic attacks. Similar to that. It's just to increase damage for a short amount of time. And an E is her carrier blink. I feel like I wanted to make, in my idea, she's slow. Carriers in StarCraft are incredibly slow units. That's why you have to be very careful when you maneuver them, but they deal a lot of damage. So I wanted to do the same thing in Heroes, where they're very slow, but they take a lot of damage. I feel like in Heroes, unlike in StarCraft, there's a lot of things that can take you out of position or catch you off guard. So I added this carrier blink. She just teleports and gets some armor afterwards. And those are her basic abilities. These are my talent examples. I have 4. Repair drones. Transform 2 interceptors into repair drones. These drones heal Selendis. If Selendis is fully healed, then the repair drones begin to heal damaged interceptors. This is one of her abilities in the campaign that's unique to her unit. You can have your interceptors heal you, which I thought was like, oh, well, I'll make this a talent. That sounds kind of cool. Gives you some sustainability. Plasma shields. A very small percentage of interceptor damage provides Selendis with shields equal to that amount. I just thought that makes sense. It'd be cool to have. I think, and that's why I make sure to say very small, because these things have a high attack speed, and then you can, as you scale, the damage starts to ramp. So it's a very, very small percentage, but you do get shields from it. Cloaking Matrix. Interceptors can no longer be targeted by structures. That was something I want to do, because structures can target them. Graviton Catapult. This is an upgrade in the game that you can get for carriers in StarCraft 2. The first 4 interceptors are launched immediately. The rest launch at 50% increased speed. So you get your damage out faster. These are her ultimates. Yay! Carrier has arrived. This is a very famous StarCraft quote. Carrier has arrived. Selendis temporarily summons a fleet of carriers that will target any enemy within a very large radius. Each carrier has 8 interceptors that get released immediately. I put 10 seconds as just a rounded number. It could be shorter. It probably should be shorter because the damage might be crazy. But it's basically like, if you ever played Artanis's his like disruption area. It's just a big AOE. That's kind of what this is. You just plop a big AOE, and then the carriers will make a circle around it, and then just launch their carriers and shoot anything within that area. It cannot move. It stays stationary. And then Chrono Boost. Solendis's max interceptors is now 12 instead of 8 as of picking this talent. Activating this ult builds 1 interceptor every 2 seconds and sends out all available interceptors immediately. In addition, the first 2 attacks of each interceptor are empowered. So, interceptors from the game shoot twice, for 1 attack. So that's what happens. So basically, it's their first attack, but their first attack consists of 2 damage outputs. The mount. Here we go. This is her mount. You activate her mount. She activates to board all interceptors. Solendis cannot give an attack order. Solendis's move speed is increased by 100%. Solendis's passive now builds 8 seconds faster. So, can't deal damage, but gets more interceptors. And that's Solendis, the character that was supposed to be the next hero in Heroes of the Storm.
All right. So I have questions. Are you taking questions?
Absolutely.
So if I may scroll back up to the abilities here.
Yes.
So let's say she's laning and an Asmodean globe comes down right on her. Does it just destroy every single one of her interceptors?
Oh, an Asmodean globe?
Yeah.
If you can hit them, yes. These things are very... I should have put maybe a GIF or something. These things are like bugs. They move like really fucking fast. So if they are surrounding her, yeah, it'll hit the carrier.
Okay,
Or
so
it'll hit the interceptors if they're out there.
is the interceptor... It is the projectile, it flies at an enemy, or it shoots?
It's an actual entity that shoots. Think of like the roaches from Zagara.
Okay.
They're like that, but they fly and they're really fucking fast.
Okay, and she's intended to be like a marksman, right? Like...
Yeah, that's slowly, like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes. Yes.
I kind of like the idea where like you like ramp up your interceptors and then your damage is based on like how many you have out at like the time you like start attacking, right?
Yeah. Because like I say, I try to make it very similar to the unit in StarCraft.
Mhm.
Maybe I should have put a video in there, like to show you, like, hey, this is what a carrier looks like when it's attacking.
Mhm.
But yeah, it plays very similar to that unit in the game.
Mhm.
So she can go over walls in StarCraft. Do you intend for her to be able to go over walls in HOTS too?
Yes.
Okay.
So like kind of like a Genji jump, or
Yeah,
more
kind of
like...
like a permanent Genji jump.
Okay.
Or like Medivh
interesting.
mount.
Or Medivh. Medivh mount is exactly what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So then I
Except
was
she's
gonna say,
vulnerable.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and she can still be targeted even while she's hovering. That's just her stationary. That's how she is.
Mhm.
She's just quite literally built like that.
Could you go back to the mount page for me, please? So her mount form is like for both mobility and to build up really quick, build up her
Yeah.
interceptors.
Because these things have low health. I assume that if you with big AOE, that would be her counter, because then you could blow up these little interceptors. So the idea is to get, since it takes like 10 seconds to build one, you want to mount up so that you can build it every 2 seconds. Build one every 2 seconds.
Mhm.
All right. If we have no further questions, I believe that's it for your presentation.
It is. I'm done.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Woo!
Oh, that was easy.
Shall we spin the wheel? Or actually, I'm gonna give everybody a minute to write down your scores, if you will.
Oh yeah, I gotta write down my scores for me.
He's so goofy, bro.
All right, and then with that, I will spin the wheel to determine who's gonna go next.
It's gonna be Nathan, I bet.
It's gonna be me.
The wait is over.
All right. Here's my presentation for, I have no idea how to pronounce it. Fiakla, it might be Gear, it might be Gear, I don't know. But I'm going to call him Vasily. And we'll get into who Vasily is in a second. Immediately. So, Vasily, the wiki isn't 100% clear on whether Fiakla is the same person as Vasily. So I'm just going to, for the sake of this presentation, assume they're the same person. Vasily was one of the first Nephilim, and he was the first druid in Diablo. Kind of like how Bolkathos is the first barbarian, and Rathna is the first necromancer. Normally, Diablo characters and heroes have like an OC name, like Cassia and Zool. So let's assume that if my character gets put in heroes, he would get a different name. They wouldn't call him Vasily. So for the sake of this presentation, let's just assume it's one of Vasily's descendants that has taken his name. All right, are we all? I assume that's okay with everybody. So it's not the original Vasily; it's some descendant that's just taken his name. But he is meant to be a representation for the Diablo 2 Druid, and as a result, I've tried to represent all three talent trees, turn into a MOBA character, and the result I came up with was that he would be kind of like an anti-mage, kind of like an anti-mage mage bruiser, kind of like Galio or Cassidon from League of Legends, or how Thrall is in Heroes, where he's got the lightning, but he can also get in melee range type beat. Now, he does have a shapeshift mechanic, which is going to make him immediately seem very similar to Greymane, who's another character in Heroes. But I want to differentiate him by explaining that Greymane is a marksman who shapeshifts into an assassin. He shoots you with his gun until you are low health, and then he dives you and bursts you. Vasily is a mage who shapeshifts into a bruiser. He should never be able to burst you. You should never die instantly. You should never get blown up by him, ever. That being said, he's an anti-mage. If he's 1v1ing a mage, he should win every time, regardless of the mage, but he should be out-sustained by tanks, and he should be shredded by marksmen. So, he's got a very distinct purpose for being put in this game. And again, he's not Greymane. He's a mage who becomes a bruiser. He will never just 100-0 you. Now then, let's start off with his mount, Shapeshift. He shapeshifts into a werewolf, slightly increasing his movement speed and increasing his basic attack speed. He's very much like Rhaegar in this regard, but whereas Rhaegar gets a dive, Vasily can actually auto-attack while shapeshifted, and he's a werewolf, he swings his arms, and he's good. If you try to cast his Q, his W, or one of his ults, it will instantly return him to human form. He can't cast spells while shapeshifted, and then, it goes on cooldown when you leave it, as you might expect. Worth noting that the shapeshift does increase his move speed, but not as fast as a normal hero mounted. And then also I have to start with his passive, which is Cyclone Armor. This is where his main, anti-mage, how do I say this? He is an anti-mage, and it's 100% because of his passive. Okay, he gains 2 stacks of spell armor, which essentially mean that the next 2 spells that would damage him just deal a quarter reduced damage, 25% reduced damage. After both stacks go through, the trait goes on cooldown for 20 seconds, and after those 20 seconds are up, it's automatically reapplied. I'm not the biggest fan of traits, because in Heroes, you could have a passive or an active. I'm not the biggest fan of ones that are actives, so I was like, I gotta add some kind of auto-renewal mechanic to this, so that you don't have to actually hit the button. But if you want to, you can hit the button to put it on cooldown early. Let's say you get hit by one spell, and then you only have 1 stack left. I'll hit the trait button, I'll put it on cooldown early so that it starts restoring the 2 charges. But yeah, Cyclone Armor just makes him tankier against mages specifically. So this is what I mean by marksman should shred him. Nothing in his kit gives him physical damage resistance. So he should be good against mages, but terrible against marksmen. Let's start with his Q. Wanted to make a very simple, easy to understand Q, and then I didn't. So I made Twister, which stands for 2 tornadoes that aim kind of like Giannis's W and Smite, where they go out and then come back in. And you'll notice in my little drawing here down in the bottom, there's the green zone is his starting position, and then the red zone is where the 2 tornadoes overlap. If you get hit in those special zones where the 2 tornadoes overlap, you get very briefly stunned. 0.75 seconds I feel is fair, because that's how long Tyrande stuns you if she hits you with Lunar Flare. But yeah, it's just, you shoot out a couple tornadoes, right? If you get hit by both, you get stunned, right? Simple, easy to understand. His W is Poison Creeper. He you designate a start position by holding down the button and then drag your mouse. So it aims like Rumble's ult from League of Legends. If any of you have ever played Rumble, you'll know that you move your mouse to a location, you hold down W in this case, you move your mouse to designate the direction, and then you let go of W. Poison Creeper will start at the designated position, and then he'll go. You can actually see in the little diagram here, he has an ability range, but that range is just for the start point of Creeper. Also worth noting is that the Creeper, it deals very light damage, but it does apply a dot, and then Vasily will gain a little bit of HP back every time the poison dot ticks on a hero specifically. Okay. Now, for the complicated ability, his E is Feral Rage. If you tap E, it instantly shapeshifts you into werewolf form and gives you a stack of Feral Rage. You can build up to 3 stacks by auto-attacking. Each stack gives you attack speed, lifesteal, and slow resistance. And when you're at 3 stacks, he is slow immune. So that is intended to counter heroes like Jaina, who are full of slows, and other mages whose only way to put distance between them and you is to slow you. You should be able to run a mage down. But most marksmen will either have a mobility or a pushback, kind of like Raynor has a pushback. So he should be able to run a mage down, but not be the best at running some marksmen down. But yeah, it's just, you can basic attack 3 times. There's some, like, if you want to read my little dialogue there for the ins and outs, the specifics, but essentially he can build 3 stacks on auto attacks, and then refresh those stacks. And if he gets all 3 stacks, he becomes slow immune. That's all you really need to know. So if you wanted to, you could either stun somebody with your tornado, walk up to them, try and get your 3 stacks to run them down, or you could get 3 stacks on a minion and then use the fact that you're slow immune off the minions to try and run somebody down. But notice that he does not have any movement abilities in his basic abilities yet. Wink. So his first ultimate is, if you want to go sort of the mage route, you want to say, I don't really care for this werewolf business, I kind of just want to play him like a mage who's getting in the middle of combat. That is Hurricane. Starting from his position, and then it spreads outwards, there's this initial blast of wind. That initial blast does great damage and does a great slow. After that, the hurricane persists, and then that persistence only deals light damage and a light slow. Also worth noting is that no matter what ult you choose, he gets an upgrade to Cyclone Armor. So in this case, whenever you hit an enemy with Twister, it reduces the cooldown of Cyclone Armor by 1 second. Just, a way to make Cyclone Armor better once you hit level 10. And then also, while the Hurricane persists, he gains an additional 10 spell armor that stacks with Cyclone Armor. Again, more magic resistance and some slows, but nothing that a marksman, shouldn't be able to shred him out of, right? Because again, it doesn't do that much damage. His second choice is if you want to go full in on the werewolf shapeshift fantasy, and that is Shockwave. First of all, the passive for Cyclone Armor is, instead of hitting enemies with Twister, it's now auto-attacking enemies in werewolf form that reduces the cooldown of Cyclone Armor. And his active is that he leaps a short distance and stomps on an area. Any heroes he land on get stunned, and then he sends out this cone shockwave. This cone shockwave basically does nothing. It does no damage, but it stuns non-heroes. So the intent here is that if he lands on a Zagara, he should be able to land on a Zagara and stun all of her summons, and they should just be like taken out of the fight completely. So this spell is intended to counter summoners. If he lands on an Azabadan demon, they should be able to do nothing. If he lands on Nazebo ghouls, they should get stunned. So this is his, I really want to counter these summoners. Also, he's only going to be a werebear for like half a second. It's a very quick, jump. But if he happens to get hit while he's a werebear, he just takes half spell damage. Again, it's a half second. It's just for flavor. That's not going to affect anything. It just means he can jump through a Li Ming orb and then not get that hit by it. It's just for flavor. Like, please don't get too hung up on that. If that's a bad mechanic, I'll happily remove it, but it's just for flavor. And then also worth noting, after you cast Shockwave, you're put into werewolf form. So you almost have to commit to werewolf build if you do want to go Shockwave. It is not a good ult if you want to go mage. And to exemplify the different ways he can be played, I made some example builds using some example talents. So first of all, werewolf build. He could take a talent like Hunger, which increases his damage against summoned units and gives him lifesteal. You could take a talent like Heart of the Wolverine, which gives him an auto attack aura to him and allied heroes. But the main core of Werewolf build is his talent called Fury, which essentially at max stacks of Feral Rage lets him dash and deal great damage while dashing. So that's his movement ability. Is that I wanted to make it so if you really wanted a movement ability on this Bruiser Diver, you have to commit to Werewolf build. You have to. Like, you can't have both, right? So you know, Fury is sort of the core of his Werewolf build, and then of course you have the ult upgrade. 20 talents are always ult upgrades. This one is pretty simple. It just makes it so that every unit he stuns grants him a stack of Feral Rage. But also, if he stuns at least one enemy hero with Shockwave, he gets a spell shield. He gets a crowd control spell shield. So just leaning more into that I'm running down a mage kind of fantasy. But maybe you're like, I don't care for this whole werewolf thing. I kind of want to go mage. You could go mage build, which, you know, gives you a third tornado and increases the stun duration. Or you can get another button on your hotbar. I know we love extra buttons on our hotbars. You could take Fissure to open up a fissure. You could take Andariel's Visage, which, you know, grants you increased spell power as long as an enemy hero is poisoned. And then Armageddon is Hurricane's ult upgrade, which makes it so meteors rain down within Hurricane's radius, and if they get hit by the initial blast, it forces, even though the meteors are intended to rain down randomly, if you get hit by the initial blast, it'll guarantee, like, throw a meteor at the hero that's hit by the initial blast. So it should guarantee a meteor hit, unless that character is mobile and can dash out of it. So yeah, that's mage build. But maybe you're like, man, this seems kind of cool, but I kind of hate that you have to get locked into one path. Well, why don't you go the hybrid build, which will give you talents like Oak Sage, which is a max health aura, or Rabies, which causes your auto attacks to poison and increases the damage of your poisons if an enemy hero is affected by both of your poisons at once, both Poison Creeper's poison and Rabies' poison. You could summon a Direwolf, which is an extra button, and the Direwolf will inherit your inherit. Am I pronouncing that word correctly? It'll inherit your werewolf talents. So you can summon a Direwolf that also applies Rabies. Now you're a summoner with max health, right? Because now your Direwolf and your Creeper are both dealing poison damage. And then his 20 talent for hybrid build, which again, you have to take neither of the ult upgrades to take this, is you take Lycanthropy, which lets you cast spells while shapeshifted. So it's a very powerful 20 talent, but you're giving up either a spell shield or the meteors. So those are it for his so those are like the main 3 ideas going into his builds. And I really want to reiterate again, he's great into mages. He should run down every mage in the game, but he should be terrible into marksmen and tanks. And that's his identity. Thanks for listening. Any questions?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love running down Cloppies, so that werewolf build sounds really fun. But honestly, the mage build also seems really fun.
I'm glad you think so. My main goal was like, I gotta make him not be Greymane, and so I really hope that I succeeded in that.
Oh, you did. I think so. It's kind of like more of a stance thing than like a transformation for Greymane.
Like an
like
Udyr?
melee versus. Yeah, like it's melee stance versus like.
Oh, like
range
a
stance.
Jace. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
exactly.
see what his Q is again? Is it the tornado?
Yeah, it's Twister. It's the
Oh, okay.
Giannis W.
I love Giannis.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and the stun too. It's so nice.
Well, so what inspired you to choose Diablo 2 Druid?
Maybe because it's my favorite class in Diablo 2, which is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. This is like the one Diablo character I'm like, how did we not get representation in HotS? I'm so sad. Because it's my favorite. It is funny though, I always play Fire Druid, and I didn't include like a single fire spell other than...
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was actually expecting Fire Druid shit. But like, I was surprised. I'm seeing all this shit, I'm like, I've never seen this before.
So I added some Fire Druid talents, but yeah, I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself to use more of his talents than just the ones that are in my comfort picks.
Anyone that can run down Li Ming is a dub for me.
Dude, when you said he gets like half a second of spell armor when he dashes forward, bro, I can only imagine the fucking crazy shit you could do, bro. Like, It's like fucking dashing through a Hanzo ult, because that stands as a spell attack. Fucking, fuck, what ability is it? That's kind of like Ash Arrow from League of Legends.
Oh, like a wailing arrow from Sylvanas?
Wailing Arrow. I think Hanzo also has like actually his other ult is that kind
He's
of
like
arrow.
he has like the Ash ultimate,
Yeah.
which you could just dash through that. I think you just not even take the stun, right? You would just dash through it.
I don't know.
You would get stunned when you land. So you would land on him and you
Okay.
would both be stunned.
Oh, so are the effects like delayed as soon as so like I'm thinking of like actually like programming it into the game.
So he gets hit mid-flight by a crystalline arrow from Hanzo, which is not the name, that's Ash's ult, but
Yeah.
he gets
Same,
stunned.
same thing.
Would it happen immediately on that frame?
Ooh,
or
that's a
was it-
good point. Should he be able to get shot out of his ult? I think he should be unstoppable.
I think
Find a way.
he would be unstoppable.
Okay.
Dude, he's a fucking animal, bro. You can't stop him. Look at him.
I also want to say, fucking, dude, I'm a big fan of. Could you go back to like the werewolf form stuff?
The talents or this one?
The ultimate for Shockwave. Sorry.
Mhm.
I love the anti-summoner.
Right. So
That stood out to me.
I had to think of mechanics. I'm like, who's annoying mages that he can counter without making him too strong against, marksman? It's like, yeah, he should just stun all of Zagara's summons.
And because they're not like actual players, it's fair.
Mhm.
And they're not even dead. They're just taken out of the fight for a bit. I like it.
If there are no further questions, we shall move on to the next presenter.
Scoring.
Oh, true. You want to take a minute to score on your note
Yeah.
cards?
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
Because of that, he's going next.
Should we spin the wheel without him here?
Yeah.
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 You're right.
Got him.
He's gonna come back to his computer and be like, "Aw, fuck."
Man, where is he, bro?
Oh shit. Okay.
We will forge a great destiny.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here's my entry for the Crunchy Nut Hero Design Challenge. These are the topics we're going to be going over today: the hero, his role, what game he's from, and a little bit of his backstory. Abilities, including passive, his traits, basic abilities, ultimates, and some talents along with those. And then for some fun, we're going over some potential skins that this character may have. And then at the very end, I'm going to talk about the philosophy behind the kit, why I kind of wanted this character in the game. So as a surprise to no one in this call, the hero I chose is Tyrion Forging, High Lord Tyrion Forging. His role in Heroes of the Storm, I would imagine, would be that of a melee bruiser. He comes from the Warcraft universe. I think he may have been mentioned in Warcraft too. I'm not sure, but he's definitely a big player in World of Warcraft. A few things about Tyrion, High Lord of the Argent Crusade. He brought together the Knights of the Silver Hand and the Argent Dawn when the Lich King attacked Light's Hope, and managed to free all of the Acherus Death Knights under his control, and that's how Wrath of the Lich King got kicked off. Tyrion's Tyrion's resource, because we gotta have another unique resource. Holy Power. For this, I had two concepts, and the first one is kind of the one I was rolling with, but it's also a little bit clunky, so the second one is also in there as an example. But for the most part, Tyrion's basic abilities and attacks can generate Holy Power, depending on the version, up to 5 or up to 3. For the first version, Tyrion can use 3 Holy Power to spend on empowered versions of his basic abilities, which would either be turned on through either a toggle with his passive trait, or something else. I'm not sure about that. And then the other version would be when a Tyrion gains 3 holy power, his next ability will just be the empowered version. For his trait, this goes back to his resource for the first example. Active, a toggleable ability that turns Tyrion's basic abilities into holy power spending abilities. And that's basically that. Passive, crusading strikes. Every other basic ability that Tyrion does, every other basic attack Tyrion does deals bonus spell damage, and generates 1 holy power. And you may notice the word light there, highlighted in yellow. I'm using a range for like ability damage that goes from light all the way to heavy, with like some in-between modifiers too. You'll see within the next few slides. Tyrion's Q. Tyrion's basic Q is Judgment, where he throws out a hammer of light that deals damage to a single enemy, a simple point-and-click ability, maybe even a skill shot, not sure. Deals damage to the enemy, and makes his next holy power ability deal a bit more damage. The empowered version of his Q is Templar's Verdict, where Tyrion strikes an enemy in melee range for heavy damage, consumes 3 holy power, and depending on how it is, it's either going to be a auto attack, what's it called? A modifier, so it's just his auto attack, but it does more damage, or it's just like a point and click melee ability that goes off once he's in range. His W. His basic W is Blade of Justice. Tyrion summons a Blade of Light that pierces the enemy. It deals damage and generates 2 holy power. Simple stuff. His empowered W is Divine Storm. Tyrion unleashes a whirl of divine energy. Deals AoE damage around him, not to be confused with Uther's Divine Storm, which also stuns. This is just a damaging ability for the sake of Tyrion. E. Tyrion's basic E ability is Avenging Wrath. I wanted Avenging Wrath in his kit somewhere, but I didn't quite think it was big enough of an ability for it to be an ultimate for him. So in this case, it's just a really long cooldown basic ability, which gives him a generic buffs, damage, healing, and yeah. I wanted it to be kind of like what Rylan said earlier. What's his name? Raynor. His Raynor is a damage steroid that's up, but it's on a really long cooldown because of like how strong it could potentially be. And then his empowered E is Word of Glory, which is a point and click heal. Tyrion uses 3 holy power and can target himself or an ally. For the ultimates, we have 2 ultimates here. For the first ultimate, Unbreakable Will, this is a callback to Tyrion breaking out of the Lich King's ice at for the final boss of Icecrown Citadel. Tyrion removes all CC from himself, all CC and negative effects from himself, and becomes unstoppable for a second. And then, for some certain amount of time after that, Tyrion gains another damage steroid, but also healing and armor and movement speed. Also, while under this effect, crowd control effects have less duration on him. And then for the second ability, this is a reference to World of Warcraft Retribution Paladin artifact ability, Wake of Ashes, or it's just a generic AoE slash that generates holy power. It's just a strong burst damage option versus a CC removal slash steroid. So to give some options for the player. Talents. So these 4 talents are just kind of the generic talents that you could find within like the first couple levels. They're not very strong, but like they give something, I guess. First talent, High Lord's Judgment. Judgment homes onto another target near the first target and increases the damage, like the percent damage that they would take from holy power spenders. Nothing too crazy, just like more damage for his Q. He's gonna be spamming it a lot. Crusader Strikes, or sorry, Crusader's Strides. This is one that I really liked. Tyrion gains a ramping movement speed buff while he's in combat. So the longer Tyrion is in a fight, the more movement speed he'll get from this passive, and the better he'll be able to stay in the fight, the better he'll be able to fight kiting. Healing Hands, I'm not a big fan of this one, for reasons I'll go over later, but it's just a increase on healing for his Ward of Glory and Cunning Grant's armor to the target if they're below an HP threshold. And then the last one, I'm also not a very big fan of. It just empowers Avenging Wrath. Not really fun, not really interesting. It's just kind of a damage boost. Here's a talent I really like. I think it would either be a level 16 or a level 20 talent. Final Tempest is what I called it. For Tyrion's two main holy power spending abilities, Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm become ranged attacks. Templar's Verdict becomes Final Verdict, and it becomes a ranged point and click, or a ranged auto attack for that matter. And then Divine Storm becomes an AoE skill shot instead of just an AoE around him. A skill shot as in like he throws it forward, not like he chooses a spot and then it appears there. Here's another talent I'm a really big fan of that I'm not sure would be balanced, but I feel like it's iconic for a Retribution Paladin. I call it High Lord's Blessings. Tyrion gains Blessing of Freedom and Blessing of Sacrifice as active abilities, because we all love active abilities. Blessing of Freedom is just a root/slow removal. Removes those effects on the target, either himself or an ally, for 3 seconds. And the target is also immune to those effects for those 3 seconds. I don't think I wrote that there. Yeah, I did not. And then Blessing of Sacrifice. This is a really fun one that I think would be super cool to see in game. Increases an ally's armor and spell armor by 30%, although I think it would just be a flat 30 according to the game's logic. And then all damage that's prevented by Blessing of Sacrifice would be dealt to Tyrion as a damage over time. And for our final two talents, these are two upgrade talents for his ultimate. The first one, Seething Flames, is based on, once again, Retribution Paladin, but this time from Dragonflight, the most recent expansion, where it adds 2 more slashes that deal slightly less damage, but it deals more damage overall. And then the last one, which I'm a big fan of, I call it Will of the High Lord. It grants Tyrion's Unbreakable Will ability. You can cast that on an ally, or if you cast it on yourself, it's even stronger than its base form. No numbers to that, because, yeah. Now we're going to be going over the skins I think Tyrion would have if he were in the game. The first skin is his iconic look from Wrath of the Lich King. He's wearing the Tier 6 set from the Burning Crusade, the Lightbringer set, and of course his weapon would be the famous Ashbringer. Although they discontinued Mastery skins, if he did have a Mastery skin, I think it would be something similar to this, the Radiant Lightbringer set from Legion. And then along with the Ashbringer, or along with the evolved form of the armor, he would have the evolved form of the Ashbringer, also from Legion, known as Crest of the Redeemed. A for fun skin would be the Assault on Icecrown Citadel from the final raid in Wrath of the Lich King. The Lightsworn set, along with just the base generic Ashbringer. More people, I think, would find this the more iconic set as opposed to the Lightbringer set, but I think the other one is a bit more iconic to Tyrion. And then here's my fun what-if set. So in Legion, spoilers by the way, Tyrion ends up dying, and the player character ends up taking up the Ashbringer. This skin is a what-if instead of Tyrion dying. What if the Legion took him over and converted him to their side? In this case, Tyrion would be a Fell Knight, and his weapon would be the Fallen Hope version of the Ashbringer, also from Legion, and then this armor from the Legion pre-launch event. Or some other set, maybe from the expansion. I'm not sure. So the philosophy behind Tyrion's kit was I wanted a character that feels like playing a Retribution Paladin from World of Warcraft. And what that means is I wanted someone that's tanky, has a lot of burst, and is a bruiser. But with that, they have low mobility and they're prone to really getting kited. Another thing about being a Retribution Paladin, in my opinion, is the ability to provide support to your front line while still being able to pump out the damage. So I wanted Tyrion to be someone that could thrive in a fight, can deal a lot of damage, and support his allies, which is a lot to have from MOBA character. Some would say it's overloaded, but that would be a dream come true for a character like that. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
This is a goated question.
I hate this fucking stupid ass question slide.
This is crazy. I love this. I'm definitely going to give you points if I may scroll through your PowerPoint, because I think Unbreakable Will is absolutely sick. I'm a big sucker for, and something that I was guilty of in my design was like, oh, everything is already a skill in the game. Unbreakable Will being included, and that's just something that Tyrion does, and not all Red Paladins do. That's sick. I really appreciate that inclusion.
Okay, so I'm gonna snitch on myself. So, I mean, so technically, this is what Tyrion did at Ice Crown, but there's an ability. I don't know if it's a callback to this event, but like in Legion with the Ashbringer, one of the abilities it had on the tree was like, if you get hit by a CC, it just breaks you out. And that's the name of that ability, Unbreakable Will.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if it's based on that event, but that's where I got the name from, at least.
I still think it's sick, so I will not rescind my bonus point there.
Okay.
Also, the 20 talent for it, yeah, that's awesome. Being able to... my favorite 2 slides on your slideshow here are Will of the High Lord. The fact that you can cast it on an ally. As a 20 talent, I think that's such a good idea. But
yeah, because I wanted...
Sorry. Go ahead. Your presentation.
Yeah. So the idea behind that was like I said from my philosophy behind the kit, I wanted a frontliner who can support his allies, and that's where Unbreakable Will comes in. He can give that CC immunity, that super big damage steroid to his friends if he needs it, if they need it, and he would, because
So that, and then the other one was this one. Divine Storm becomes an AoE skill shot. That's what I love in talents. I love the wacky talents that just completely fuck with the hero's abilities, and those are 2 examples, and I think those are awesome. That's it. I didn't have anything else to say. Were you inspired by Pantheon by chance? Because this is a very Pantheon passive.
No, I'm inspired by World of Warcraft. everything from this, most if not all the stuff from here is in WoW in some shape or form.
Okay.
Like Holy Power, that's what I do in WoW all the time.
So
Dude, you're so true.
So my thing though was like the first idea where it stacks up to 5, and then you have to like toggle it. I feel like that's kind of clunky. So that's why I came up with the second version where it's like stack up to 3, and then your next one is empowered. I didn't even think of Pantheon.
I agree that I also think it's clunky, but I have a bias towards I don't want to hit extra buttons. So that's why I like the second one better.
I think the first one would be better, and not a MOBA. We're playing World of Warcraft.
Right, yeah. It is cool though, the idea of getting to, like, okay, now you're already 2/3 the way to your next ability, I think is cool. Maybe as like a talent, I like the second one better.
Yeah,
personally.
I agree.
And then also my last comment is shout out to table of contents slides. I fucking was cracking up with my mic muted when I saw this, because I'm like, yeah, I remember in my senior design class we would get points off if we didn't have a table of contents slide.
Yeah, bro.
So I'm like, A+ just for this slide alone. I'm already hooked. But that's all I have to say.
I guess I just have one comment on the skins for Fell Knight. So like, I love this concept because this idea is kind of like in parallel to what happens in Legion, where when you go get the Ashbringer, it's actually like a trap. So a Dreadlord is like there in ambush for your player character, and like your character's actually like taken under control for a second, and at the Ashbringer turns into this version of the Ashbringer that you see on screen. So like, if your character didn't proc Unbreakable Will in that moment, like Legion could have been in a different game.
And I respect the inclusion of skins because it's something I didn't even think to do. I think it's nice and flavorful, and it shows that you're passionate about the hero you've presented to us today.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, I do have a question. Why did
Yes.
did you choose the why not mana or energy? Why specifically did you choose that unique resource?
So it's mainly just because I'm a fucking WoW paladin head, and this is the resource that they use. I guess, I mean, if it was like mana, then it's like, okay, we have to back at some point. If it's energy, it's like, okay, I spent all my juice, now I gotta back up for a second. In this case, it's like you're an unrelenting fighter, and maybe that's not healthy for a MOBA, but I don't know. I like it a lot. Maybe he does have mana or energy as his primary resource, and this is like how he gets his empowered abilities. I'm not sure.
I mean, you have no escapes, so I think it's fine to be an unrelenting fighter. It's literally Pantheon. Like, if you try to leave, you're dying, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's
all
fair.
in.
But yeah, if that's all for me.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Alright, spin it one more time.
Well, let's
time.
give a minute to put our scores into our spreadsheets here.
Oh yeah.
Alright, let's spin the wheel to see who's gonna go next.
Oh
Yep.
fuck, man. Oh fuck, dude.
It lands directly on the line. Save the best for last.
Can you reroll it? Can you reroll it?
Oh, sure. Hold on.
Oh my god, dude.
Remember, the last one usually gives the biggest impression. So if it's
Fuck, dude.
no pressure, dude.
Fuck you, bro.
Let the games begin.
Welcome to my Heroes of the Storm Hero Design Concept. From Millhouse, Jermis, Manastorm.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
So Millhouse has been in WoW since the Burning Crusade, so I think that's about that's like 20 years? Question mark. We first find him, and he's in a dungeon called the Alcatraz in a prison. There is no reason why he's there. To this day, they never explained why. It's to be assumed that, I don't know, he was just getting into some curious shit, and then he just got trapped there. He's also in Cataclysm. He plays a pretty big role, where he's in the Deep Home dungeon, where he joins up with the Twilight Hammer cult. And he was going to be a boss until he was interrupted by one of the other bosses he fights in the Cataclysm dungeon, Corborus, who is a gearworm, who I don't think we ever see in any other expansion, to my knowledge. Maybe there's a few in the most recent ones, but Mr. Pandaria, he just joins the Brawlers Guild. You can fight him in there. I mean, he's a wreck after you destroy him from the Twilight Hammer cult, so he's kind of just rebuilding. Same in WoD. He can appear at your garrison, but he doesn't really do anything. He just gives you a quest. But in Legion, we're so fucking back. He's actually a big role in the Mage Order Hall campaign. You find him in one of the catacombs you're exploring. You actually need his talents to get to the next part of the quest, and you can actually have him as a follower. And to my knowledge, when I was looking up on the wiki more info about him, his father's Magnus Manastorm, who was allegedly like one of the most powerful mages to exist, which to my knowledge, that's like new info to me. And then we can see art on the right of him escaping his cell. He has to take a moment to drink like any other good mage. For basic abilities, for his passive, I didn't put an active on it, but when activated, you remove all impairing effects on yourself. This is the WoW gnome racial, and he is a gnome, so it just makes sense. This is the only ability that will help with movement. He has no like buffs as far as movement speed. He has no dashes. You can cleanse like 1 CC, and that's it. And if it doesn't impair your movement, it doesn't work. His Q is Arcane Blast. I was originally going to give him more Arcane Mage abilities, but I felt like that was not entirely correct. I did end up going with 2, but the reason I stuck with Arcane Blast was because based on all your interactions with him, he is on a quest for power. And I think that as an Arcane Mage, where you're basically spamming this ability that does more and more damage but costs more and more of your mana, I like it. Obviously, I was going to make it a point and click because that's how it is in the game. But in a multiplayer MOBA setting, that's not fun for somebody to just get clicked on and die. So it is a skill shot. After a moment, it would go back to its base mana. So it starts off low with a low mana cost, low damage, low mana, and then ramps up over time to be cost more and do more. His W is Arcane Explosion. He doesn't have any move speed, but this ability, when you're on him, he can knock you back. So if you're up on him, if you're getting run down by Justin's character, Vasily, bro, if he's unstoppable, you're still fucked. But if they're not, you can try to get away with this. And then his E is Power Overwhelming. This is taken directly from, what was it? Shadowlands in the other side, where you fight him and his wife in the other side. This is one of the mechanics where he has crystals that can empower him, and also deal damage to enemies. So it's kind of the same thing here, where you just click a target area, and it'll decrease the armor of nearby minions and players, but it'll give himself some spell power. Some talent examples is, of course, he's a mage, so of course he would have the option to just sit down and drink some water. So this would restore a little bit of mana, and it can be channeled indefinitely. So if you want to just walk to the front, go off with Arcane Blasts over and over, dump your mana, and then just sit behind the gate and sip some water, you can do that, man, by all means. Every mage does that, where they spam their abilities, and they need a water break. I had to include a quest because I love quests. This is to spend 10,000 mana, and it gives you Enlightened, which is a passive that gives you bonus magic damage when you're above 50% mana, and it gives you bonus mana regen when you're below 50% mana. Another talent example is that, he has one option for move speed, and it's this. You can hit your trait to cleanse a CC, and also you get a little bit of move speed. And then also Get Off, which is just going to drastically increase the knockback from his W, which, you know, unless you're Vasily, who's unstoppable, by the way, it's pretty helpful. So his first ultimate, Impending Doom, this was taken directly from the Cataclysm dungeon. You can see him casting this spell before he's interrupted by the Gearworm. So we actually have no idea what the spell does to this day. So I made my kind of own interpretation of it. You can target an enemy within range, and a timer's placed next to their nameplate. Everyone can see this, and it's similar in visibility to when you get rewinded by Chromie. After 10 seconds, their max health is reduced by 75% for 5 seconds. The numbers might need some tweaking because it would be unfair to just have somebody lose like all their health immediately. But I like the idea of being able to put a timer on somebody and coordinate like, okay, now everybody go in. This doesn't displace them though, so that player could just walk away. But at the same time, you know, maybe you don't get any value out of it, but they're still leaving the fight. So while they're trying to get rid of this debuff, you can initiate a team fight anyway, and they're already one man down. Or they could try to, you know, play it out with their reduced health and try to just, you know, contribute to the fight anyway under a high risk. His second ultimate would be where he summons his wife, who he doesn't have a super great relationship with. But she would charge forward with a buzzsaw, also akin to their fight in the other side. Stunning an enemy player, the first one it hits, goes through minions, does not go through walls. But after she gets sent out, she's going to make another pass towards Millhouse. So the only way, it doesn't affect allies. Allies will not be stunned if intercepted his wife Maleficent. But if she connects to Millhouse, Millhouse will be stunned for the full duration. So you have to plan it around. Hopefully you can send her in the back line and then position yourself to where she charges back into another enemy. Otherwise, you're going to get hit. And for some ultimate talents, Impending Doom is recasted whenever on a random enemy player, whenever an enemy dies under the effects of Impending Doom. It could be instant, or it could be on a delay. Either or. I just don't want it to be too broken. Mechanical Squirrel Bombs. This would make it to where when the Millicent connects with her stun, and whenever that happens, she puts down a lot of Mechanical Squirrel Bombs around her with, I imagine, like medium to high damage. I don't know exact numbers. And then an active, if you want to take an active, because we love those, is your next Arcane Blast skill shot will consume all of your mana, but it will also do a lot of damage, which in the late game might seem really strong, because I imagine you will probably be able to hit somebody with Endless Doom or Impending Doom, whichever talent you decide to go. Oh, because you can only take one of them, sorry. It would be Impending Doom. And you could probably just blow them up. But at the same time, if they have that timer on them, they should be able to space it out, but I don't know. I'm still deciding on the numbers, and I'm still deciding how fair it is. It's just a pitch. These are his skins. His base would be as we see him in the Burning Crusade. And his mastery skin would be as we see him all the way up until Legion. I like the drip. I think, I actually don't know if that second one is a tier set. I don't recall exactly. And his legendary would be one of the goofy skins from Hearthstone. What is it called? The Band of Legends, or Festival of Legends is what it's called, the music expansion. This is DJ Manastorm from that, and that could be his cool legendary skin. I'm kind of sad they don't have mastery skins anymore, but it is what it is. And I would give him a duck mount, and the reason is, it turns out he's actually in Dragonflight. You can find Millhouse and his wife inside just, I guess, a cave where he's researching like a comeback. He's back in his not Legion, what was it? In his WoD era where he's like back down again. You just killed him in Shadowlands at the other side. Now he's back to scheming. And his next bit is he thinks ducks might be the next big evil thing to help him get a leg up on the competition. So this is the exact model from Dragonflight. Here's a cute little guy. This would be, oh, I forgot to play this, but this is his On Fire line.
You guys feel free to jump in anytime.
Thank you.
Oh, like when he's like on a kill streak or something?
Yeah, when he's on fire.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Could you go to ultimate talents?
Yeah. Ultimate abilities.
Talents, sorry. One more down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fucking amped up.
True.
That's funny.
I think it's funny. I like it.
That's a funny ability.
Because if you miss it, you're just out of mana now, and you have to go sit your ass on the floor if you took the drink talent.
I just want to say also, could you go one back to the ultimate abilities? Yeah. Impending Doom doesn't seem that good to me. I don't know.
It might not be. I was worried that it was going to be too strong because you're cutting their health for a lot. And I'm like, well, if they just walk away, they'll be out of the fight.
10 seconds is a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
But
it
also,
takes a lot of planning.
but
But
also,
the numbers could be changed. I just don't know what would be too broken, because if we put it on like 2 or 3, it's kind of unfair. If we put it at 10, maybe it's too long. But
I think
cutting somebody's health by 75% would be a big deal.
I think you just put it on Chromie's ult +1, and it would be fine.
Okay.
I think this is a talent that will never go off ever. It will only remove an enemy from a fight, which is fine. I think that's good. I mean, that's it. I think you could not balance this in such a way where you would actually get to burst somebody with it.
Right.
But I do fuck with the idea of like, it's an enemy removal which exists in HotS, right? You have Anubarex, Web Rep, and you have Maev's Prison, but this is like one that the enemy player actually has to act on. So I fuck with it. I fuck with it for that reason.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can cut it down to like chromies. I just like similarly how she like will displace you after a bit, so your tanks can get lined up on their CC to kill you, or you know Zebo puts down a wall or whatever. I really like the team coordination that everybody sees it. You know, someone could cleanse them, put a CC immunity on them. Basically, both sides are reacting to this thing that's about to happen.
I also don't.
So this is. Sorry.
I don't think it's that unreasonable to deal massive percent health damage when fucking what's his name has an ult that does that. Who's the Dreadlord?
Mal'Ganis,
yeah. So I don't think.
Oh, and also Greymane's
unreasonable.
bullet, no?
Yep, Greymane. Well,
And that I don't know what percentage that does, but that's like instant.
it's not as much as Mal'Ganis can do.
Oh, what does Mal'Ganis do?
Well, Mal'Ganis trades HP values with an enemy, right?
Oh, that's
so you could get down to
right.
25% and trade an enemy's HP value. And
So reasonably speaking, this would probably be like 4 seconds, maybe nothing too crazy.
yeah, I don't think it's as unreasonable as you made it out to be. But I do think it's solely.
I was just worried.
I do think it's solely a unit removal tool and nothing else.
I am particularly proud of the Maleficent ult because I like the idea that you could absolutely fuck yourself over with this ult and stun yourself. I mean, you could proc your passive on it if you do end up fucking it, but then you're spending it on something that you fucked up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you if trait works on stuns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that would be movement impairing. So anything that would stop you from clicking somewhere and your character starts moving toward there.
But it wouldn't work on a silence.
No, because that does not affect your movement.
Got you.
I want to say, I mean, just like from today's presentations, Justin's character counters Diego's.
Oh, absolutely.
Rylan's character counters Justin's. Just Rylan counters Justin. Rylan probably counters me. I counter Justin, and then
this
Diego
is attack triangle of the game.
can counter me.
I'm
Can't
aware.
counter me.
I just really like Arcane Blast as a concept for an ability. It's like Cassidon ult. It's like that idea of
Yes, exactly. I love the idea of just dumping your resource and being like, all right, guys, well, I'm gonna head out.
That's like what's her name? White Main's basic heal, because the more you
like when you
use
spam it, yeah.
the more you spam it, the more mana, yeah. But it doesn't even increase in power. It's just more mana used.
Any questions?
I see you. What's it called? You really took the concept of Noma Mage.
Pretty much,
like,
yeah.
There's some arcane in there, but like this more speaks like mage with flavor towards arcane.
Which, yeah, I tried to do that because you have to keep in mind this dude's also like a boss. Like he's not just a mage, and a lot of bosses will have like all 3 elements. But I'm like at the same time, Millhouse is very much like somebody that wants to ramp up power and is actively siding with villains to get power. So that's why I'm like, oh, Arcane Blast is perfect for him.
Yeah, I like that you used multiple sources. He wasn't just a mage. He was a gnome, and then he was a mage, and then he was a boss. You know, you had those 3 things to pull ideas from.
That was like the 3 things I pulled from. Because I originally it was just like generic arcane mage, and I'm like, well, that's boring, you know. I'm like, you need to give him some identity of his own. But you know, funny mage conjure water, funny mage spend mana, and then funny wife.
I don't know, bro. Conjure water sounds good as fuck.
It can be channeled indefinitely, but you are just sitting there slowly getting mana back. So
honestly, it's not horrible. Like so many mages and heroes, like it sounds bad because you have to sit still, but so many mages and heroes, you just fucking run out of mana and you're like, well, I guess I have the back.
Yeah.
It could prevent backs. So
exactly, especially when we play ARAM.
I think my gut reaction was like, I don't know about that, but I think now the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, no, actually, if it can prevent backs, I think that's kind of sick.
I like it's conjure water, not conjure food and water.
Originally, there was a talent for it, but I'm like, nah, doing both, so you just never have to back. Come on, man. And I like the meme of just mana. Like, as a mage, I don't give a fuck. I don't have health anyway. I'm just drinking water for mana. And then you take the 20 talent to be amped up, you miss your Arcane Blast, and you're like, alright, I guess I'll see you guys in like a couple minutes.
If I walk into a bush and I get amped up, arcane blasted 100-0, I'm fucking quitting the game.
Dude, no, you have spell armor. You would win every encounter against the mage, dude. You are Vasily. You will win. Trust me.
All right, if nobody else has any questions or comments, I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get our scores together. Our final scores. Now that everyone's presented, I pull aside our audience member for a quick interview. So do you, like, of the characters that you saw, who do you think you would be most likely to pick up and play, knowing nothing about heroes?
Probably, knowing me, I'd probably play Nathan's or yours.
You like to go in?
I would play Justin's.
I'd probably go werewolf form, to be honest. But no, Nathan's, yours sounds cool too. And then this guy, I don't know. He's looking at me kind of funny.
What the fuck, bro?
He's hard though, and I just like I just love to play on all the names of all the abilities and everything.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
How many sound effects did you prepare?
that I forgot to use because I was focusing on not fucking up the words.
2 or 3.
Like 2 or 3, yeah.
Before I reveal how we scored each other, what did you think? Whose character would you play? What criticism or comments might you have for us? Please let us know. Wow. So I want to say that our scores were all so incredibly close that Hayden's vote actually really mattered. So I'm gonna go from bottom up here. So it was out of, what is this?
30 points?
30, 69. It was out of 100 actually, because it's 30 points from your 3 competitors and then 10 points from Hayden. So out of 100, from bottom up, it is first. I'm sorry to say, last but not least, Nathan with 85. Tied for second with 85.5 points, because Hayden did 0.5s.
Oh Jesus.
So with 85.5, just a half a point more, is
me and Rylan.
Diego and Rylan.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And with 88 is me. So thank you very much.
Host privilege, bro.
It is.
Yeah,
Oh
this is
my
fucking rigged.
God.
I'm honestly surprised Nathan got that.
Should have given you more points, brother.
I guess I should have. I expected to be dead last.
You should have put a hater and just put 0 for
Diego
everyone else.
Diego gave you like 5 points.
No, I didn't put anything below like 7 for anybody.
I didn't either.
Yeah, Nathan got 1-7 out of me. That was it. Everything else was higher than
Was
that.
it uniqueness because of Uther?
No, I put 7
What
for
was
fun
it?
because I didn't want to play that character.
I gave everyone
yours
a
look-
10 on uniqueness.
I also gave everyone a 10 on uniqueness.
I didn't give anybody 10 because 10 is masterpiece and that's gotta wow me. You gotta earn that 10, brother.
Okay,
You got a
well,
10 on uniqueness for me because
Yeah,
I
you
was
got
sitting
a
there
10.
like,
No, change my uniqueness to 9. No.
I did not
Well,
for
you're- 'cause
flavor
you're
and
shoot-
representation. Cause I don't know. What am I, a master at Millhouse Management? I don't know the fucking
To me,
dude.
it was like, oh, can you explain why you chose the abilities that you did, and can you explain where this character came from and why they're a fit? That's
To
where.
me, that's what I did.
Yeah,
and
that's what I did.
I put also just like if you have like a lot of like things that like the names as well. Like if you got a really good name for the abilities, I'm like, oh okay, you got it. You know this fucking character in and out. That's what I put for flavor and
Yeah,
representation.
and so for me, like flavor and representation, I think I gave Diego the highest score because I'm like, he has the best named abilities. They're from several different facets. I can't understate how incredibly close it was. Props to everyone. This was a very fun experiment. But that's not all. We have a bonus round. So now we have our scores. We've cooled down. We got into a big argument. We've cooled down now. We all hate each other. We do have a bonus round, right? Because Rylan actually designed a second hero for us that he would like to present.
I don't know if I want to present it.
What an overachiever, bro. Fuck you. Are we grading this one too?
No, this
or?
is not graded. This is for fun.
You can grade it if you want to.
I'm
I
putting
don't care.
zeros now, bro.
zeros
I'm
across the
pissed.
board. Zeros across the board.
I'm gonna ask questions as if it was legitimate, but no, I'm not gonna score it.
Here's one thing I'll say. If you guys could, I'm gonna give a presentation on both these characters. You should tell me which one you liked more. We'll do that. That I am interested to hear. Okay. So my bonus round character, that I actually had enough to get into a presentation, is another StarCraft character. If you couldn't believe it, it's a man named Karax. Karax is a support hero. I get there's a stigma against actives. I fucking love actives. Maybe I'm just a little kooky little StarCraft brain. I fucking love actives. Fill that hot bar up with like 6 fucking actives, brother. That's what Karax does. He just fills you with fucking actives. Karax is a Protoss. He is pretty much a Protoss engineer. He was there with Artanis and Selendis on what's called the Spear of Adun, which was one of the last ARC ships for the Protoss before their homeworld was overrun by the Zerg. You get to see him and talk to him a lot in Legacy of the Void, which is the last game of the campaign. I think he was a hero in the campaign, but he's more known as a co-op hero. So in StarCraft, they had this game mode called co-op, where you worked with somebody and you fought against like PvE missions, basically campaign missions that you could do with friends. And then Karax would be a hero. He would level up, and you can get special abilities and stuff. So let's talk about Karax. He is what's called a phase smith, so that's what his name is coming from. Karax cannot be targeted by enemy structures. He doesn't get hit by them. This is to show the fact that he knows buildings, tech, structures, robotics. He's an engineer through and through. He can just work. He doesn't get hit by them. He has I would say, a hard-on for structures. Yeah, that's what Protoss do. His Q is recharged. Provide a hero a token that reduces the cooldown of their next ability. So the whole thing with Karax is he provides you with tokens which fill up on your action bar, and then you can spend them however you want. Each token does something different. For instance, his Q reduces the cooldown of the next ability you use. His W, Power Overwhelming, provide a hero token that empowers the next attack of an ability. His E, Lance of Adun, a skill shot, blast an enemy dealing medium damage. Because I love supports that just have 1 damage ability. I don't know, it's fun to have that. His talents, I actually made an active for this guy, so you can have another thing on your hotbar. Phase calibration. Give a token that a hero can use. This token makes it so that hero cannot be targeted by towers for a short duration. Only 1 hero can have this token at a time. So this would be really good for like a Genji. Just pop it on him so he can jump over and just fucking wreak havoc and then jump back. Fun little thing. He has another talent called Additional Pylons. Tokens that heroes are given can stack up to a max of 3 times. So if you like more tokens, here you go. Another talent, Reclamation. Hitting Lance of Adun creates a neutral regen globe behind Karax. Not a allied regen globe, a neutral. So it can be picked up by enemies. And I actually made, ultimate abilities. He has 1. Chrono Charge. Provide a hero with a token that puts a hero's ultimate off cooldown. This token expires in 15 seconds. So your ult just goes off cooldown. And then your second ult for Karax, Protoss Engineering. Karax remains stationary for, like fur, fox fur, the duration of this ability. While Karax is stationary, all enemy structures around Karax cannot target allied heroes. It's like a AoE around him. I'm trying to think of like a hero that does something similar. But it's just he stays stationary, and then a large AoE projects from him, and then any structure caught in that AoE doesn't shoot allies. And then I created ultimate talents for this dude. So for Enhanced Charge, this is a Chrono Charge upgrade. The token no longer expires. So before it expired in 15 seconds, this no longer expires, so you can keep it forever. And then for Protoss Engineering, the upgrade, Purifier Matrix. While Karax is stationary, all enemy structures around Karax target enemy heroes instead. It's time to use their greatest weapon against them, as Karax does. That's Karax. Protoss Engineer.
Zeros all around.
Listen, buddy.
I think you made the right decision with the hero that you chose. So
I disagree.
There-
I love this.
I love Chrono Charge as a concept. The first
That's
ultimate.
what I'm saying,
Like,
bro.
actually, like, okay, so effectively this character doesn't have an ultimate, but in exchange, one of your allies has 2 of them. That's a cool concept, actually. I like that a lot.
It's also a token. It's an active. It's going to be on your active hotbar. You gotta.
So is this? Wait, sorry. Is this guy in the support category, like
Medivh.
in
Yeah.
Alpha 3?
He's not a.
Okay.
What is it? A healer? Healer's a
Yeah.
category. No, he's a support.
Okay.
I think a lot of this sounds more ridiculous than it actually is in practice. So, like, I think it's very easy for me to read the ability that says structures cannot target allies and think, oh my god, that's crazy. But then I remember, like, oh, well, Sylvanas can just turn off towers. So, like, you know, shit exists, right? It's like, this is Heroes. It's not that unreasonable. I think the token no longer expires, is probably the craziest thing in this entire slideshow. That I'm like, like, so can a hero only have 1 at a time?
Yeah.
So are you telling me if the game was like slow and not scrappy enough, you could give 4 of them to all 4 of the allied heroes, and all 4 of them could have 2 ults in a single fight?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're talking like double grav bombs. We're talking like double sulfurous smashes. Double
lava waves.
Double lava wave. Yeah, just crazy shit. That within itself is already insane.
Yeah, I love the ability of, like, fucking with your allies' abilities is very Heroes. It's very extremely on brand for this game. I just hate actives.
Oh god,
Dude, I love him. I was like, I would make this would be my favorite support in the game. I just play this hero over and over again as a support.
I never want to see this guy on my team or on the enemy team.
it's on site.
I wanted something like as wacky as Lost Vikings and like as like micromanagement heavy as Lost Vikings. That's what I wanted.
Except you are not doing the micromanaging. You're putting it off to your allies. Like, why am I suffering because you're in my game? Is my question.
I don't think it's like suffering. It's kind of like something you don't even need to think about. Just like sometimes you have a token, you're like, oh hey, more damage or something, you know.
Well, then
Absolutely
if you also pick actives, like you have your own actives, now you're just slow. Normally you would have like 1 or 2 depending on the hero you have, but now you have Karax on your team, your whole fucking 7 slot bar is filled.
If I'm playing Zool, who has Bone Prison and Bone Spear, or Jaina, who has Ice Block and Icy Veins, I'm fucked. I can't reach that far on my keyboard.
Well, that's why you have the control plus 1, 2, 3.
I'm being a clicker. I'm playing this like WoW at that point.
What if the 20 talent for Chrono Charge was it's auto cast, but it's on a lower cooldown?
Dude, I had an idea for like a hero that had rotating abilities. So like you would like use your E, and then it would be like once you use it, it would take like one of like a random of array of abilities that you have and then put it in that slot. So you would always get random abilities. Like I had 2 other ideas, and one of them was I guess it was a Warcraft, but it was like more or less. Well, I was gonna create a character for World of Warcraft called the Player, and as a player, you build the kit with your talents.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was working, I was like, oh, this is so cool, but I could not get it finished in time for the presentation. There was way too much shit.
Choose your class.
And then I had another character that could manipulate summons, and each unique summon in the game had a unique modifier based on these abilities. So like one ability would be like, turn this summon into a different creature. And then for each, like if you target Zagara's Roach, it'll turn into another Zerg unit. and I would do each unique one for every single summon in the game. But there's a fuck ton of summons.
Yep.
And so it got way too big.
And then it's like, are you allowed to fuck with ultimate summons? Is that too powerful?
Yeah, because Carrick's originally, my idea with him was like you could use people's summons against them. So like Gazlo's Turrets, now you control it, or Probius's Photon Cannon, you can use it now. But there's a fuck ton of them. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
A fellow anti-summoner mechanic maker. I think if there's anything I learned from this, just as a whole, not necessarily just your Karax presentation, it's that we all are very passionate and creative, and that we should do something like this again.
I'm down to do this again.
Oh, he's content farming us, bro. It's
takeaway.
over.
Oh my god.
I want to do more Stark. I want to do more. I want more representation of my favorite Blizzard game in a Blizzard game.
Right.
I had two other characters in mind, and that was I wanted to make Khadgar and I wanted to make Egwin, but I just was like
two more arcane mages.
That's what I mean. I'm like they're both like the same thing,
Wait,
bro.
Egwin?
She's the first guardian, yeah. Medivh's mom, I believe, in lore.
Oh.
Me making Tyrallion and then fucking Mogreen.
And that's what I mean. It's like, well, this is like not unique, because then I would just dump all the arcane shit on like Khadgar or Egwin. So I need to do like more research to like make unique shit for stuff she did in lore, but I have to find it. It's not even in the game. I have to do deep cuts.
I mean, I get it, because I would have been like, who would I want other than Diablo 2 Druid? Maybe Diablo 2 Paladin. Maybe Diablo 2 Bow Amazon. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording there. Thanks for joining me, fellas.
Okay, night guys.
Alright, night, dude.
What? I mean, let's just say farewell for the video, not for... Okay, well, I guess I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Good night.
Bruh.
And that's all we have for you today. Again, we'd really love feedback or scores you may have for our presentations. If you'd like to see more of the things we've done together, like the previous HotS Jeopardy video, check out the playlist on screen or subscribe to see what else we get up to. I don't intend to be a Heroes of the Storm focused channel, but I do enjoy making videos involving my friends and rambles about things I enjoy. Either way, I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, or night, and I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna be the nice guy who gives everyone high scores. I hope you guys are meaner than I am.
I'm the bad guy.